Hello, everyone. She stood there, stunned. The moment her eyes accidentally met her daughter-in-law's eyes filled with fear, body curled up, trembling pitifully, her heart felt like it was being squeezed. It was no longer just fear, but a deep wound caused by herself. The policeman's mother never thought that she would become a nightmare for her daughter-in-law. Her whole life seemed to collapse in that moment. She was stunned, speechless, then burst into tears, uttering in a choked voice, "I will change. I promise you." Early in the morning, when the sun was just shining through the trees, Hang and Sinnhat went to the backyard to repair the broken fence after last night's heavy rain. The couple stood there discussing for a long time, calculating each section of the fence that needed to be replaced. Hang, the calm husband, held a sharp knife, cut each rotten piece of old net, folded it neatly and put it away. Sinnhat bent down to pick up each fallen piece of bamboo, wiping off the remaining mud. Sweat was dripping from their foreheads, but neither of them complained of being tired. In the gentle morning sunlight, they were like a simple rural couple, starting a new day together, simple but full of love. The atmosphere was so peaceful that it made people forget the storms that had happened. Sinnhat, the virtuous wife, gently wiped the sweat from her husband's forehead, her eyes full of love. Suddenly, Hang stopped, her eyes filled with regret. He stepped forward, wrapped his arms around Sinnhat, and whispered emotionally, "I'm sorry for making you suffer all this time. I wasn't there for you at the right time, leaving you to face it alone." Sinnhat was stunned for a moment, then smiled brightly. She turned around, held her husband's hand tightly, her eyes shining with joy. "Just having you come back is enough." In that moment, all the pain seemed to disappear. They were no longer wounded people, but two people walking closer to the happiness they had lost. After the emotional moment of lovemaking, the two continued their work in silence, but full of love. Hang carefully built each fence bar, while Sinnhat brought bamboo and held nails. Every gesture was gentle and in harmony, as if no storm had ever passed. The midday sun spread across the small dirt road. The gentle wind rustled the bamboo leaves. Sinnhat busily picked bamboo on the roadside, preparing to bring it back for Hang to fix the fence in the backyard. Her face was covered in sweat, but her eyes shone with satisfaction. Suddenly, heavy footsteps sounded behind her, making her stop. Nhat turned her head. Her heart suddenly tightened. Her mother-in-law. Without a second's hesitation, Sinnhat dropped the bundle of bamboo, turned her head and ran towards Hang. Her legs were wobbly with panic, but her heart was beating even harder. As soon as she reached the garden gate, she saw Hang intently closing the fence. Unable to speak, Nhat hurriedly pulled his hand, his eyes panicked, his trembling hand pointing behind his back. Hang did not understand what was going on, frowning at his wife. Nhat breathed heavily, trying to gesture continuously. Her hands were both drawing air and clasped together as if begging. When she saw that her husband still did not understand, she grabbed his arm, pulling him to follow her to the end of the alley. And then Hang saw it too. The foster mother, newly released from prison, was standing a few steps away. Unlike the chaotic memories in Hang's mind, she now looked tired, weak, and somewhat remorseful. She took a step forward, her voice choked. "Child, I just wanted to come to make amends. I know I was wrong. For years, I have lived in torment." SN and immediately retreated, pressed close to her husband's back, her eyes wide open as if she was about to cry, but no tears fell. She just shook her head slightly, her lips pressed tightly together, her eyes begging HGG to do something to end it. HGG gently squeezed her wife's hand, her eyes slowly turning cold. He looked straight at his mother, each word like a knife cutting through everything. "No need, Mom. We just want to live in peace. The past has been too painful." She took another step forward, her voice hoarse with emotion, but still tried to hold back. "Mom, I'm apologizing already. After all, Nhat hasn't been seriously injured. Please forgive me." As soon as she finished speaking, the atmosphere froze. Sinnhat shivered slightly, his hands gripping her husband's shirt tightly, his eyes still avoiding her. Hang turned around, her eyes sharp as knives, and she growled loudly. "So to you, what is hurt? When a person no longer dares to open his mouth, no longer dares to look into his mother-in-law's eyes, no longer dares to step into the house that used to be called a home, isn't that hurt enough?" She was stunned, unable to say a word. Her face darkened, and she silently bowed her head. Hang didn't say anything more. He held his wife's hand, turned away and led her back to the backyard. Not once did she look back. The couple continued their unfinished work fixing the fence, tying the rope, and replanting the vegetable beds. The atmosphere became silent, but in that silence, one thing was clear: they had chosen peace without any further pity. Seeing the couple silently turning their backs, she stood rooted to the spot, her eyes lost in the harsh sunlight. After a while, she muttered softly, as if talking to herself, "No one needs me anymore, but I can't give up. First, I have to regain Hang's trust. I have to make her believe that I really want to change." Then, as if she had made up her mind, she bent down to pick up some old, dusty nets, gently folded them and brought them in. No one told her, no one asked her, but she still quietly went to help pick up the fallen bamboo sticks, gathering them into neat bundles. Her mouth continued to mumble nonstop, "I have to do it little by little. I can't let everything collapse like this. I have to let Hang see my mother's sincerity." After finishing the bamboo pile, she looked up at the house and saw Long sitting alone. She immediately hurried up to the porch, her eyes darting around. Then she bent down, leaned close to the boy's ear, and whispered in a pleading voice, "Long, can you help me? Tell your parents. Please believe me this time. I really want to make things right." Her voice trembled, her eyes filled with tears. Long looked at her in confusion, not understanding everything, but feeling something very different. For the first time, his grandmother was no longer scary. Hang and her husband were busy making the fence when they looked up. Both of them were shocked to see that she had gone upstairs. Without saying a word, Hang and sinnhat quickly turned back. As soon as she saw them, she immediately stood up, her voice full of sorrow. "Hang, not, I'm sorry. I really know my mistake." But Hang did not let her finish her sentence. He growled coldly, "Mom, go home. We don't want to hear anymore." She paused, her eyes burning, and left immediately. After his mother quietly left, the atmosphere in the house was still heavy. Hang looked at his wife and children, then suddenly smiled slightly. "Let's go shopping together." Today, he wanted to buy new clothes, buy a few more items as a way to start over, to shake off the gloom of the past. The whole family left the gate smiling. As soon as she arrived home, the policeman's foster mother dropped herself onto an old wooden chair. She sat there, her eyes staring blankly out into the empty yard, her hands clasped tightly together, trembling. She muttered, "What can I do? What can I do to make them forgive me?" Nhat was silent. Hang was cold as a knife. "How can I undo those mistakes?" Her voice choked up. For the first time in her life, she felt truly alone. On the other side, the atmosphere was completely opposite. Hang's family had arrived at the market, entering a small but colorful clothing stall. Hang picked up a shirt and turned to try it on for her wife, her eyes gentle and full of concern. Sinnhat smiled, nodded, and also chose a dark shirt for her husband. They both bent down to choose clothes for Long, the little boy chattering around, his arms tightly, holding a shirt with a dinosaur image. In the middle of the crowd, a family of 3 was peaceful as if there had never been any pain. After buying clothes, the family did not rush home, but continued to browse other stalls. Sinnhat carried a few white maffa pots. They both chose vegetables, meat, and bought some fresh fish. The market was crowded, the cries were bustling, but in their eyes, there was only each other. A simple market, but it seemed to open a hopeful beginning. When they got home, Sinnhat immediately took out the food and arranged it neatly in the kitchen. Hang also rolled up her sleeves, took out the vegetables and meat to wash, and lit the stove to prepare to cook rice. No one said much, but every glance they exchanged, every light touch of their hands while standing together by the dinner table made the atmosphere unusually cozy. Sinnhat was busy cutting vegetables. Hang stood silently looking at his wife, then suddenly approached and hugged her. She was startled, turned around, and saw him smiling. A rare smile after all the events. Hang bent down, kissed his wife lightly on the forehead, and whispered, "Thank you for still being here." Sinnhat couldn't speak, just smiled softly, her eyes filled with tears. Her hands gently squeezed his as if in response. "I never wanted to leave.